And welcome back to the Nassaumen Hockey Podcast. James Nichols here as always, and with me is my buddy John Zello. What's up, pal?
Not a whole lot. A little bit of a break here. I
A
like
little bit.
that from some Islanders hockey, despite like a lot of breaks for the Islanders this season. This one felt really good. I think after
Yeah.
that Seattle loss and our post game show, it was a little emotional. Like it just like aggravating.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be back. It's far enough in the rearview mirror that I think we can move on, kind of assess what's going on moving forward, and I guess see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get right into the nitty-gritty, right? Because no games, so no games to talk about. The All-Star break was this weekend. We will talk about Adam Pelech's experience, but before we do that, our newest beat writer at The Athletic for the Islanders, Kevin Kurz, wrote a really good article on some storylines going into the second half of the season for the Islanders. It's now post All-Star break. We don't have to hit on every single one, but I did want to talk about the section that he wrote. Can the Islanders find some stability with their scoring lines? Did you have a chance to read this?
I did, and I mean the short, not fun podcast answer is I have no idea. Right. So this is I think there's like the caveat here that's like this we're dealing with the roster as it is.
Right.
We're not this isn't a discussion at this point anyway about bringing somebody in, the need for somebody else. It's can the current group figure it out?
That's
Um
true.
So yeah, just because we can get to that, but just so in case the readers either you don't have listeners rather don't have access to the Athletic or you just haven't read it yet. Um, I have no idea if they can. I
Right.
think I think we had said before in other shows, borderline rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Very
Like
true.
and Trotz has not been as creative as he could be. And that's
Yeah.
kind of
And
the problem, like, where that has everything to do with can he find the right combination? He's not outside of the playoffs, he has not been able to push the right buttons with this forward group, especially this season.
yeah. And I think that's largely it, right? When Kurz asks the question that, can they get some stability in their scoring? What they have currently is not working, and I don't mean in personnel. Um, it
Well,
just might be as I mean, well,
well,
also
again,
that
not this
too,
conversation, but
but
yeah,
that's
that
not what I right. Not this conversation. What he's got to, and he meaning Trotz might have to try is like you said, just mixing it up, something that we've never seen before. We've been screaming for a long time. Put Oliver Wahlstrom on the first line. Maybe it's finally time. They're not mathematically out of it, but at this point, it's pretty obvious it's not going to happen. What have you got to lose by giving him that opportunity? Maybe giving him some more minutes, and maybe he'll end up working out his game and those kinks on the first line. Maybe it's a good match for him and Matthew Barzal. Um,
well,
something
that's another one of Kurz's points, and I don't wanna jump too far ahead, but
no,
he mentions that they're like, it's not tension, right? It's a veteran coach really teaching a rookie
yes, that's going
how
to
to do
be
things, right?
yeah,
Like,
and
so
we're
I
going to talk
think
about that.
there's I'm kind of caught in the middle on making that kind of decision.
Yeah,
I think I'd like to see things, they're give it's crazy because they like give Bellows the opportunity, but they don't give Wahlstrom the opportunity, but then Wahlstrom's in the lineup every night. So like I don't
right.
understand
The mindset
the
there.
well, the mindset, the decision making, like what's going into it. Like
Yeah,
clearly there's value in Wahlstrom in the lineup. Like I don't
yeah,
think Trotz would be the first one to say that, but I guess where? So like if Bellows isn't in the lineup, that's one thing, but if he is in the first line, right? Like, is it because, and I said this before, is it simply he fills the same type of role that the player that's out on the first line has? Like, is it a quote 1-to-1 in some regard, where at least Orbello's could be that type of player? Maybe. Like, that's the only thing I can think of.
yeah.
I think as far as that forward group is concerned, like I think you had said this, switch Liam Bavilier,
Right.
leave Bailey up there. I mean, frankly, Palmieri will be out Wednesday.
Yes, just for that
So
day.
and so in the future, I don't know, Bavillier, Barzell, Palmieri. Barzell said he wants to play with a righty. They Bavillier and Barzell have played. That's a heck of a line for them to say. Butch is never
Sure.
going to get that. Bavillier, Barzell, Palmieri is a lot of consonants. But I think I'm just kidding. We love you, Butch. If he's even ever listening to this, but I mean, Lee and Nelson have a little bit of rapport. It's been some time. Um, the two of them with Bailey, I don't know. Like, I think there's some. If you like the third line and they're doing things well and they're hungry and their teammates are seeing it, fine. Leave Parise, Peugeot, Wahlstrom together. Like that's I can live with that, right? Give him a little more time.
Is it too stale though? How much more time do they need?
No, what I mean is time on the ice. Like give Wahlstrom and the line more time on ice. I don't think I think he's getting a little shorthanded. He being Wahlstrom, but that top six, like I don't think Wahlstrom's gonna just all of a sudden get more time unless he starts doing the little things right that Trotz is seeing.
Mhm.
Right. I think that's we can be as mad as we want about that. Kurz is pretty clear. Like I think that's just what is going to happen.
Right.
Like there's a few things that need to happen first before Wahlstrom moves up the lineup, right? And it might just not be that the year for it. As aggravated as we want to be, it's almost not like it's irrelevant. We can be furious, doesn't matter. That top six, going back to your original question, that's where something needs like those players are capable. You're talking about some chemistry here. You're talking about giving the players other players that they want to play with or that have that chemistry with. Barzell was pretty clear. I want to play with a righty. Okay, like give him a little bit of extra energy up there with Bavillier. It would give Bavillier a little bit of a boost, I think.
Right.
Right, give him some confidence, get him up there. Say like, your spot to lose, go for it. Lee and Nelson, fine, they're vets. I don't think their feelings are gonna get hurt, or Lee's feelings are gonna get hurt getting bumped down to the second line. That would be a veteran second line. I think that's great. I think they'd play really well. It gives uh, Bailey can still feed Nelson, and then you got Lee in front of the net. I think they're successful. And then the first line, like you got to give him a little bit more of a green light to play some offense.
Right. Yeah, and going down the depth chart a little bit, depending on the night where he's playing. I want to talk a little bit about Josh Bailey too, because there's an interesting point here by Kurz that says, don't expect Bailey to come out of the lineup anytime soon, despite just having 3 goals in 34 games. And as much as that might be true, he's got something like 10 points in his last 10 games as well. So it's not like he's not contributing. And Trotz is, despite what everyone else might think, Trotz sees something out of Bailey that he's that he's liking. And with this quote here, he even says, right now he's using that cerebral element to his game to make plays. I really think that his compete level has elevated in terms of getting up and down the ice and feeling confident in his own game. He's a guy that will produce for us and has produced for us, and he's one of the most intelligent players that we have. He's playing with Barzell and Lee, and that should be a good line for us. I know that every line I put him on, that line is going. That line seems to get rolling. So he's been a good medicine for our team this year. So basically, you know, you can hate on Josh Bailey all you want, but Trotz is saying that wherever he's playing, that line is producing. Um,
It's the opposite, or it's the same problem with both players. There's something that we're not seeing that Wallstrom. I'm sorry, it is a little confusing to say.
I know
Wall
exactly where you're going with this.
Wallstrom is missing parts of his game that we're not seeing. Josh Bailey is doing things in his game that we're not seeing, right? And
Right,
but Trotz is seeing whatever those little elements are. He's clearly seeing it, right? And that's why those players are in the lineup where they are to a
right,
certain degree. Um, I look if Bailey can feed the rest at Barzell and like make that kind of happen, if he's the straw that stirs the drink, fine. I think like that's obviously just not the element to me to really inject what could be a really good first line.
right.
I guess sure, put Bailey up there with Barzell, fine. I think also put Bavilier up there then. Like figure out like I think that extra element of speed in there, it's like, that's not Bailey and that's not Lee.
Right.
And not again, not to discredit their game, but you have no one remotely playing shotgun. They're not even in the back seat. They're in a car behind him and just doesn't have anyone to really keep up with them. And you can't just say like Lee's in front of the net and that's really good. And I guess that's good. He's got 10 goals in the season. It's a little inconsistent. I don't know the last time that he scored. It maybe just feels like a long time ago because of all these breaks and whatnot. But I don't know. It just that part isn't lining up to me.
Yeah. Um, let's talk about the Wahlstrom section, titled "What's Going On with Trotz and Wahlstrom." There's lots of people who believe that there's a personal vendetta against Oliver Wahlstrom. And it's nice that, because Kurz is so new to this fan base and to this team at its current state, it's nice to get his perspective in a way that it's there's no bias here, right? He has no reason to go for or against Oliver Wahlstrom or Barry Trotz, and he's not afraid to criticize either. So, he brings up the quote that Trotz had said a couple games ago. We all thought Wallstrom had a really good game, right? And Trotz came out and said, "Well, there's times where he doesn't feel the pressure around him, especially when we've got to manage the puck." And everyone had basically said, "We can't just give this guy a compliment. Like he had a really good game." And Kurz goes on to say, like, is Trotz being too tough on Wallstrom? Probably not. And he's got good reason to back it up, right? For starters, Trotz has coached guys like Jacob Vrana and Andre Burakovsky, and he's been hard on them, kind of like he's being hard on Oliver Wahlstrom. And look where they are now. Vrana is a 30-goal scorer. Andre Burakovsky is in the top six of like the best team in the league right now with the Colorado Avalanche. These guys have turned out to be very good everyday NHL players, and he's trying to pave, meaning Trotz is trying to pave that same pathway with Wallstrom. I know we question, "Oh, well, why does Bellows get to play on the first line and then come out of the game or come out of the lineup for the next 4 or 5 games?" It's probably because there's a plan in place for Wallstrom as part of the future, whereas Kiefer Bellows, that he's a nice player, when he's needed to have, but maybe they just don't see the future the same way they do as for Oliver Wahlstrom, and they just want to make sure he develops the way he's supposed to.
I mean, I think they're being much harder on Bellows by just simply not playing him than at least
Also that.
Wallstrom is in the lineup.
Right.
He's playing every night. He's a regular part of this team. It's not like it was last season when it was either he or Zajac, and they were trying to figure out what was going to work best on that third line. That's a different discussion and argument, right? Who was best in playoffs and this and whatever, and he played well, and they still got to the conference final. Like you can kind of, I don't know that there's a clear answer there. I don't know that you can sit there and say, oh, they lost by 1 goal in Game 7. What if they had a goal scorer and not Zajac? Well, maybe they are down by more than 1 goal if someone defensive like Zajac's not in the lineup. So who cares if they didn't score one
Right.
goal? They're down 3-1. It doesn't matter. They still
Right.
lose. They still lose the game. So I think you're probably splitting hairs there. But for Wallstrom, I mean, I do notice things, and I think we've said it in a post game before, where he does something like not get the puck deep. He goes east or west when he should have just went north or south, and gets the puck in either too soft or whatever. And you go, God damn it. That's it. That's a play. That's a reason why he's not going to play the rest of the game, or that a reason why he's not going to get his opportunity. So there are times when we are seeing it. I
Yeah.
think there are some other things that we aren't, as akin to just because we're akin to because Trotz is a Hall of Fame coach. So there's going to be these little elements of the game that we might miss. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, those moments that, when he feels the pressure, doesn't get the puck in the right spot, I
Yeah.
can definitely understand. But maybe you're right. Like Bellows just is getting the opportunity because that's just the timing, and he gets in there and
Right.
he has played well this season. You have to
I
wonder
do agree.
moving forward, and maybe we discuss that later, especially because I just wrote about this kind of like what are the Islanders roster problems as it stands.
Right.
Was not prescriptive and try to come up with solutions because there's too many players to like what about and what if. about forever. Um, but yeah, as it stands, Bellows he was contributing. It's kind of tough to have players in the lineup that aren't when he is and when Palmieri comes back. So you kind of hope that he gets his chance here, like to come back and do his thing. You don't think it'll last because Palms is a vet and he was out for the birth of his child and
Right.
yada yada. So yeah, not any easier to kind of sift through at this point.
Yeah, and the last thing that he says about Wallstrom too is, if he does all the little things right, Trotz will trust him. He'll give him the minutes. He might even put him up on the first line. It might not happen right away, but that's what I meant by there's a path here for Wallstrom, and they're trying to pave it and make sure that it comes out all nice and clean. We're still talking about a player who's just 21 years old. And
Right.
that's the thing with all this. It's crazy that, he's having this kind of success offensively and we're not promoting him, but there is a another element to the game that maybe he does need to sharpen, and it's going to pay off in the long run, because if the first line in a crucial moment is out in a meaningful game and he's a part of it, you're going to, and they get stuck in their defensive zone, or even in transition, going back to defend, and he, like you said, went east or west when he was supposed to go north or south. You're gonna notice that, and you're gonna blame Oliver Wahlstrom, and, the fact of the matter is, if he got that development that he was supposed to get a couple years earlier, and, really honed his craft and his skill, this wouldn't happen, right? So, and we're talking hypothetical, obviously, but I think that's the train
He's
of
got to
thought
earn it,
here.
and I don't think
Right.
that's unfair. It's
For a
just
21-year
frustrating.
old. Right.
Yeah, I think two things can be true, as I say often on the show. You can be frustrated that he's not moving up, but understand why.
Right.
Look, you don't think he's just as frustrated? You don't think he's doing that? You remember when you would play and something happened and you just look up at the ceiling? Like you knew you
Yeah.
did something and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh," like you the second up the puck left your stick, you knew like that was a bad idea.
Yep.
I shouldn't have went up the wall, or I should have went up the middle. I should have
Yep.
regrouped in the neutral. Like, you don't think he's doing that? You don't think that that's going through his head? If you ISO cammed him, I bet you you just see his eyes roll 3 or 4 times a game, knowing that was it. He probably knows it, and it's really, really hard to implement. You can do it in practice all you want. It's
Yeah.
really hard to implement. As someone who's coached and I feel knows the game very deeply on a basic level, I still go out. It's not like I don't go out there and play a perfect hockey game when I play.
Right.
I'm still making bad passes. That's just the reality of it. It's really hard in the moment.
Yeah.
You play really good teams. If he wants to play on the first line, you think the pressure is going to go down? Not from your team. Other teams are good. You're playing against other top competition. It's something I've mentioned on the show before. You're not playing. You're playing against. You're playing with Barzell. Expect the other team's Adam Pelech on you.
Right.
You're not getting second and third pairing. They're not paying attention to you yet. They should because he's really good. But, that line is another third line or a second line with a second pair defenseman that's just physical can shut them down.
Right.
Like you could see the goals, dry up for Walson for a time. Parise wasn't scoring. Peugeot hasn't scored. They're not a threat.
Right.
So you got to he's got to be the catalyst for that third line to just get better.
Right.
Right? I think they all need to play. Parise is playing a good game. Peugeot plays a good game. That offensive element, they all need to kind of be a spark for each other. But Wallstrom can really, like, imagine just the line blows up in a good way, and he's partly responsible. He's making
Yeah.
good like that's a really good way to say, okay, you're getting there
Yep. And
because
that's what you want to see.
it's not like Peugeot's not talented. It's not like Peugeot Parise forgot how to finish. Um, Make your teammates better. Good players make their teammates better no matter who they're playing with. Wallstrom, be that guy,
Yeah.
right? Here's your opportunity. You don't kill penalties, but you're on the power play an awful lot. Make good passes, set up your teammates, make everyone else around you better, like elite players do, and then you get raised responsibility.
Yeah.
Until then, this is what's being handed to you.
Right.
Right? Don't do it in flashes. Find some consistency. Go 3 games in a row with no bullshit. I don't want to bet on it, but if I did, I'd use DraftKings. I don't want to bet on it. Um, but I'd be willing to like short of bet on, yeah, maybe he gets moved up the lineup. Maybe he's swapped with like I think there's a little bit of creativity that Trotz could have if he trusted Wahlstrom a little more. I think he's handcuffed with moving the top six within itself. If he could insert Wahlstrom, maybe you move Palmieri down to the third line, you
Yep.
move Bailey, maybe you keep him up there and you play Wahlstrom with Nelson. Nelson needs a setup guy. Wahlstrom could pass the puck too. I think it's a huge kind of underrated element to his game. Maybe Wahlstrom can learn how to play with
Right.
that different kind of element. Like even just adding a seventh forward into that top six mix a little bit, I think would make them much better. That isn't
Sure.
a Bellows or whatever. It used to be a Zarnick or whatever the case was. Like that gives him a little bit more latitude and create the ability to be creative. Right now, yeah, you're going to see a lot of the same. He likes putting pairs together. There's only so many people people you can move around at that point.
Right.
Talking about two players at a time. So one swap, it's just not going to work.
It's very true. Like obviously we all hope that Wallstrom's development goes the way we all want it to, but it's going to take some patience. And in a year where everything just doesn't seem to be going right, maybe this is the year you really want Trotz to mold him so that when next year comes and they get back to hopefully the Islanders that we're used to seeing in the past 3 seasons. He's a big part of the reason why they're being successful again.
I mean,
So
look at Noah Dobson,
yeah,
and he wasn't even playing every game,
right.
right? So there's something to it. He was getting sheltered, and then all of a sudden, it felt like an overnight Dobson blossomed this season,
It did. Yeah, it was
right?
basically you're scratched. Except next game we need you again, so get good, and he did.
Yeah. So Wallstrom, look, he did have his opportunity to watch from the press box a while back. He needs to find his Dobson moment.
Yeah,
He needs, he is playing every single night, and it can be frustrating when you feel like you can contribute, but you don't feel like you're getting the minutes to do it.
right.
At the same
Yeah,
time, he's getting high quality minutes on the power play with the best players on the team. And it's not like he's tearing it apart every single time he's out there. Power play is hard, right? Like it's not gloss over that, right?
yeah,
Teams that go 25% are really good. 33% really good, right? Like
yeah.
that's rare. So like I don't expect them to score every time they're out there, but they do get pretty good opportunities, like a pretty good amount of opportunities. I don't know what they rank in the league as far as penalties drawn, considering that they don't have the puck so much this season. It might be lower than the past 3 years,
That's
but
true.
um, but he's still got to like do more with the time he's given, and it's not like he's not given high quality minutes out of the 10 to 15 minutes that he plays every game,
Yeah,
right? So if let's call it 3 minutes of power play time or 2.5 minutes of power play time, you got to do a little bit more than that. Again, be elite players make everyone around them better. What are you doing to do that?
yeah.
Right now, I don't think he has an answer, and Trotz is looking for it.
A little bit of breaking news, non-Islander related, but hockey related. Goaltender Tuukka Rask is not expected to continue his comeback with the Boston Bruins, and he may reportedly finalize his retirement decision in the next few days. So,
Wow.
interesting development over for Boston. Kind
They
of
have
seems like,
Swayman though, like he's
yeah,
good. So like
they'll
they're
be
in.
okay.
Who was the third
They have
goalie? Was it
Swayman and Olmark.
interesting?
Yeah, actually, Olmark is was the starter, I think, or at least the tandem with Rask, and then Swayman was waived, but looks like or not waived, but sent down to the AHL. But it looks like Swayman and Olmark for the rest of the season with Boston. But speaking of goaltenders, let's talk about Sorokin and Var Lamov, and interesting graphic I'm looking at here, John. Since Christmas,
This is also from the Kurz article.
yes,
Give him
since
credit.
Christmas, Sorokin has played 7 games and Varlamov has played 6. So, Trotz went back to that split 50-50. Um, and here's the interesting part, right? Everyone was really ragging on Semyon Varlamov for his performance. Despite his 2-4-0 record in 6 games, he's got a 9.36 save percentage and a 202 goals against. Now, is Ilya Sorokin's goals against better? Yeah, sure, 1.85. That's great. And his 6-1-0 record, sure, it looks much better than Varlamov's. Not so much his fault. And Sorokin has a save percentage of 919.
I think Varlamov was getting more quality starts. He was playing.
Probably.
I think he played against Toronto. Uh, and I can't remember the other
I think he
losses.
played against the Wild.
The Wild, Toronto. What was the other loss?
Um,
Calgary? No.
I can't remember off the top. LA? Was it LA?
They did lose that game. I can't remember if he played in that game, but
Yeah.
like there's a really good chance that that was the case. Because those are 3 losses over that time, so that adds up.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, listen, here's the thing, right? We were talking so much about, or not we, but a lot of people were talking about how Varlamov was an issue, but look at his numbers. He's a 9.36 save percentage and a 202 goals against average. I mean, you know, when I was asked what the quote unquote trade package would be for someone like Semyon Varlamov, I said it's going to have to be a roster player, a high end prospect, and a high draft pick, first round pick. And some had said that that's crazy, but that's starting goaltender material right there. 9.36 save percentage,
oh,
202 goals against average.
he's not just bringing you to the playoffs and like securing it. He
Yeah,
might move you up a couple spots
yeah,
and he's good for a couple rounds. You just saw him
absolutely,
do it. You 2 years
absolutely,
in a row you just saw him do it.
right.
It's
So
not look, the problem is not between the pipes. We knew that the entire time.
right,
And as some of these stats are team stats, right? Like save percentage, things like that. Like some to some degree are kind of team stats. Um, which also leads me to believe that it's not the defense necessarily. That's like they're not losing games because of the defense necessarily, right? It's not the goalie, it's not the defense. It really is what we led the show with, which was the offense.
right,
Um, it makes Varlamov an interesting trade ship. I don't know what you do if you're still trying to go for the playoffs. I don't know when. I wrote in my article whatever the equivalent is of Lamoriello waving the white flag. I don't know what that looks like to him. I don't know
yeah,
what that timing looks like. We haven't seen it with this team, and I frankly have not paid attention to what he's done in the past
yeah,
with the Devils and the Maple Leafs. Around this time that they weren't going to make the playoffs or whatever the deal was. So I don't know. But yeah, those I think you're right. It could be um, a Hall HAUL, not Taylor Hall. Not suggesting that. Like you look for second pairing defenseman with term for
yeah.
that, right? Like you try to figure some things out in that regard, and I think frankly, one way or another, um, Varlamov's $5 million, even though it's one more year, it's attractive to get off the books, as I wrote, because it opens up your possibilities of what else you could do with your roster. Now, there's
Right.
a question about what happens in the replacement, and we can also talk about that. But as it stands, yeah, I wanted to talk about this because it's just super clear it's not the goalies.
Oh,
And
of
Brock
course.
Nelson even said after one of the losses recently, we haven't given Varlamov the support.
No.
He straight up made that statement.
Yeah. There was a
And
point last season too where it was the reverse. They weren't confident playing in front of Varlamov. Played extra good in front of I'm sorry, they weren't confident playing in front of Sorokin.
correct.
Extra good in front of Varlamov. And this year, maybe I don't know, maybe it's a confidence thing again,
I think it's quality starts.
and that too.
I think you're looking at 3 games. How many of those 3 games against Philadelphia did Sorokin start?
Yeah, that's true. It's been mostly Sorokin against the lesser of
Yeah,
the teams.
so tell me really, who's the starting goalie? It might be less games, it's one less game.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
may be seem inconsistent, Tell me who the real starting goalie is.
It's a
He's
1A,
waiting.
1B.
He wants it. Yes, but again, you have to look at this who they're playing. He
Yeah.
played Varlamov
And look,
against the
there's
Coyotes. No, I'm sorry. He
R
played Sorokin against the
Sorokin against
Coyotes,
Coyotes, yeah.
and then he gets a shutout, and you're like, "Well, why is?" I think I even said that. Why didn't he play the next night?
Right.
You know what? It seemed now like looking at these numbers. Well, he had every right to play against Toronto.
Yeah,
The problem,
absolutely.
look, he let in 2 goals that game. You
Yeah,
can win a game letting in you can win games letting in 2 goals a game every game. The problem
right.
is not that. The defense needs to carry the mail a little bit as far as being a little more of a catalyst in the offensive zone. Couldn't agree more with that. On the
Yeah,
defensive side of it, in their own zone, team team's okay.
yeah,
They're
I
not
totally
getting
agree.
nearly the high danger chances they were last year. The quality shots are not the same as they have been in the last 3 years, which is largely the argument of, "Oh, they only get 25, they're averaging 24 and a half shots a game." Well, you know what? 20 of them were really good chances.
Right,
Other teams are getting 5 less than that.
right.
Islanders are in good shape, right? You can kind of like analytically go through and figure that out. This year, I bet you they're in the bottom half of the league, and they might be allowing more high danger chances on the other side. So imagine it
Yeah,
wasn't these goalies and Adam Pelech out there most of the time with Andy Green or whatever Mayfield eating shots, Chara being 7 foot tall. Uh, I don't know. I don't know what we expect the result to be, considering what's going on. But yeah, if they're scoring over 3 goals a game like the rest of the league, they're likely in a different position. Even like December, even if they did that in December, they're in the playoff conversation. This
yeah,
is in early January. This is like an irrelevant conversation. They lost
yeah,
3 games in January, maybe 4. Like if they play better in December and have the same January, we're talking about how they keep the first wild card spot.
yeah, that's true.
That this is not the same thing.
Yeah,
Now, we could go on a major tangent about how they do that. Why didn't they do it earlier? What's Lamoriello seeing that we're not seeing as far as the offense is concerned? Yada yada. But here's where they are, and we can point um to Lou and what did I tweet the other day? I think I even put it in my article too. He zigged when he should have zagged on a number of options last summer,
yep.
and I think there's a lot of trust and faith in this ownership group, this management group, this coaching group to fix things. Um, there may need to be a little bit of recognition on their end as to where they are currently and how do they move forward. It's a long time until September.
Yeah,
It's a
and,
short. It's almost a month till the trade deadline.
yeah,
You gotta pick some kind of direction here.
and that's a good segue into the next segment. Neil Best and I believe you wrote something similar, had put out an article just basically saying, moving forward, Lou Lamoriello needs to just really assess his roster. There's the whole second half of the season left. They're pretty much, and never say never, but they're looking like that they're not going to make the playoffs. The rest of the season, Lamoriello needs to look up and down his lineup and say who's part of this group moving forward and who isn't, and
It's funny
why.
it's funny you say that because I wanted to bring Joe Pantorno on and go through the roster,
Yeah,
right?
something we
I
could
don't want to
definitely
go.
do.
I don't want to dive too deep now because I think that would be a really good episode.
Yeah,
Maybe next week,
yeah, maybe.
or the week after. We'll see. But yeah, I wanted to go through who's expendable, who's not, who's moving forward, and just kind of like what are they working with going into the next year.
Yeah, that's something that we can do next week. If not, we'll keep posting on when we do. But someone who's not going to be a part of the Islander roster moving forward, Austin Zarnick was put on waivers on Monday and picked up quickly on Tuesday as the Seattle Kraken, the first team that could have claimed Austin Zarnick, did. And Austin Zarnick is now over with the Seattle Kraken. We will talk a little bit about that right after a short message from our sponsors. Nassaumen Hockey is brought to you by DraftKings. The moment we've been waiting for since September is finally here. In honor of the big game, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56, is giving new customers 56 to 1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get 280 in free bets if your team wins. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in New York, meaning you can bet from almost a third of the country. If Sportsbook isn't in your state yet, play DraftKings Daily Fantasy Football Contest for Super Bowl 56. New customers can get a free shot at $1 million in top prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code THPN, and get 56 to 1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get 280 in free bets if your team wins. 21 and older. Minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for a full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Tennessee, call or text the TN Red Line 1-800-889-9789. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. Nassaumen Hockey is also brought to you by Manscaped. Roses are red, violets are blue. Don't let wild hairs wreck you. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and our sponsors at Manscaped are here with the best tools to get you ready for the special occasion. This Valentine's Day, it's time to join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. With our exclusive offer, go to manscaped.com and use promo code NHP20 for 20% off and free shipping. The holidays went by so quick. Did you shore up your grooming game routine with the best tools for the job? The Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped is just the thing every guy needs in their life to make each and every day just a little bit more special. The number one product in this package is the Lawnmower 4.0. This electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin. And get this, the trimmer's advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your body. It even has a 400K LED spotlight so you can shave in the dark. Did I mention that it's waterproof too? Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to the Performance Package 4.0. Their Shed Travel Bag and Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs to keep you comfy everywhere. Currently wearing the boxers right now, super comfortable, and I love them. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code NHP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use promo code NHP20. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day. And we're back. And before the break, we were talking a little bit about Austin Zarnick, claimed on waivers by the Seattle Kraken. And initial thoughts on that, John. What did you think when you saw at first that Austin Zarnick was put on waivers?
I didn't like the timing because I wrote about how he could be part of the solution moving forward on the
Ouch.
fourth line. Um, I did mention he was waived, but I kind of thought he'd go through. Islanders been pretty lucky with that under Lamorello for some reason.
Hmm.
Maybe Francis doesn't give a shit about Lamorello, a different conference. You don't have to deal with them so much, although those are likely kind of like trade partnery um, kind of folks because
Good
it's a
point.
Western Conference team. So like, I don't know what that dynamic is. I don't know if they know each other. I don't know what the deal is. Um, but yeah, I think thinking about the future of this team, which is a lot of the conversations right now, and a lot of what we could put our energy into because that's something positive. Like I thought he could be third, probably a fourth liner with Sezikis. So he could if Zarnik could if Clutterbuck didn't return, Zarnik could take his spot, and then Johnston on the other side, or Martin if he's going to stick around and actually play it out. I had a thought in my head that Johnston and Martin would kind of flip roles, where Martin would get a little less time and just he's getting a little older, and you put him in when you need him. You play Johnston a little bit more regularly, so you got a Zarnik, Sezikis, um, Johnston trio for that identity line and go from there. So now it's they're in a position because Zarnik played really well when he was in the lineup this season, and he had that energy. He played with that Islander identity. So yeah, it's a really tough loss. He played well. Maybe uh, Bardreau gets another shot. Haven't seen him in a couple of years. I know he was on the taxi squad. I think he was like in and around the team. I'm not sure he's gotten a game.
Not this season, no.
Not certainly not this season, but maybe not even in the shortened season last year.
Maybe not.
Um, so like he's a Zarnik adjacent, Cizikas light type. Like I don't know how they like fill in these identity pieces moving forward. You kind of thought that, like I said, that would be Zarnick. So it's a definitely a bummer.
Yeah, it's when I saw that he was on waivers, I knew right away he was gonna get claimed. Um, just a hunch that I had. Um, he'll be a good role player for the Kraken. Maybe he'll play every day for the Kraken. They're bottom of the barrel of the NHL right now, and maybe they just need guys on the team to help lift competition for everybody else around him, and that's a good pickup for them. The other side of the coin for Zarnik, a lot of people were upset about it. He's also 28. He's been around a little bit longer than everybody thinks. And although I loved him as a player. I thought he was great and he gave it his all every shift. And you want guys like him around. That's why he was claimed. But ultimately, the administration had a different outview for his future with the team. And one question a lot of people had asked was why Zarnik and not Ross Johnston? What are your thoughts on why was it Zarnik and not Ross Johnston?
Different role in the team, different future with the club, different contract.
Yeah,
It's clear, like Johnson's been with the club for a while. He's the kind of been the de facto 13th, 14th forward for years. They just signed him. He's on the team for a little while longer, maybe 3 or 4 more seasons. Um, and maybe 3 more seasons after this one. I don't have cap friendly up in front of me. Um, they're paying him quite a bit. I really do think he'll eventually get a little bit more time as Martin slows down. Maybe, it might be one of those things where they split the regular season and then Martin plays the playoffs if they get that far, just because Martin has that experience and it's really good. Not that Johnson played bad in his playoff experience
yeah,
over the last couple summers here and there, but I think it's likely just like different views and outlooks for what these players bring to the team and what they're going to be contributing moving forward. It's disappointing because for a team that really needs that energy, Johnson brings a very different style to that. Like he enables that energy to kind of be brought out of the team through fighting and physicality and all that. Whereas Zarnick was a little bit more of that Sezikis little engine that could kind of energy, which
yeah.
is really what the Islanders are kind of based on. It's been like that for a decade. Brought out really by the better by Trotz, honestly. Um, Might just be, yeah, their outlook on what these players are and what they mean to the team. It sucks. It's a really good point that he's on the older side. I don't know how old Johnson is. I think he's not the spring chicken anymore either.
Yeah,
Maybe
maybe
he's
not.
26, 27. Like it's not like he's so much younger than Zarnik. But they're very different. I don't think it's an apples and oranges type thing. Like it's
Right.
clear they want this guy around for whatever reason. Maybe he's just a great locker room guy. I don't know. You pay a locker room guy $1 million a
And
season,
there's,
but I don't
the
understand.
possibility that, Lamoriello knows what the future of the fourth line is going to be like. Maybe Martin isn't going to be around for the rest of his contract. Maybe Clutterbuck isn't going to return and get a contract. And these are just both assumptions. And Johnston, he could be a good fill in the fourth line. I shouldn't even say fill in. He could probably play fourth line minutes every night. And
Oh,
you
for
would,
Martin, absolutely not
right,
Clutterbuck.
right.
Clutterbuck needs a replacement, and that's why Zarnik to me was that type of player. He could I thought could grow into that role. I don't know
And
another player that they have that they've given the opportunity to, like Zarnik over the last few years, uh, that can fill that Clutterbuck role.
well, and the fact of the matter too is who else is due for a contract next offseason, and Zach Parise will be there, the taking as well if the Islanders want to bring him back. And if he signs another 1 year deal at league minimum and you stick him on the fourth line, listen, everything he's given on the third line, if you put him on the fourth line, uh, looks even better in my opinion. I mean, listen, I love the way Zach Parise plays. I think he's playing excellent. And if you're putting him on the fourth line, that's a no-brainer to me. I think he's doing very well there. So
It's
he's the
fine.
kind of guy I don't think he's too different from Zarnik and the way Zarnik plays. Yeah, he's a little older, but
He
you're
can
not
bring
gonna
it.
yeah,
It's
he
fine.
could
You know
bring
what
it.
you're getting.
You're not gonna
That's
waive
fine.
Zach Parise and you
Look, if you're
waive
not gonna,
Zarnik.
it would be interesting to bring back Parise and not bring back Clutterbuck. And the reasoning for not bringing back Clutterbuck is that he's getting old. when Breezy's got a couple of years on him.
Well,
So,
I
like,
think the
that's
thing is
interesting.
Clutterbuck probably knows he can get a little bit of money on the market, whereas Parise would probably be happy to return to the Islanders for, 750. Whereas Clutterbuck could probably make 2.5 on the open
I
market.
don't think anyone's going for him, honestly.
Maybe not, but
I think he's a good Islander. That's part
he
of the problem with the Islanders chips in general, is that
well,
they're very
here's the
good
thing.
Islanders in a certain system, and this year not even that, right?
Here's
Like,
the
they're
thing for
not
me.
good.
Look at Barclay Goodrow this offseason. He got paid, and
He's
in
a
my
young
mind,
guy. How old is Clutterbuck?
I mean, yeah, I know Clutterbuck's a little bit older, but in my mind,
A
if
lot of bit older.
he's okay, a lot a bit older, but he's playing a very similar game to Barclay Goodrow right now, and just because he might not get the length of the contract, but he might get the number somewhere else.
He's making 3.5, he's 34.
Right. He might
I
be able to get 2.5 somewhere else. Lamorello's not going to give him that.
I mean, come on. Lemrell's handed out money. You think
I
if
don't know.
Clutterbuck comes back and he's not at 1.5 million, it's not worth it. It's an overpayment. Anything
Right.
more than a 1.5 is an overpayment. And Lamrell's done that. He's paid Komarov that way. He's paid Johnston. Johnston's getting $1 million. He's
I think
barely playing.
I think Komarov was different. Komarov came in at a time where he had to convince guys to come to Long Island. Long Island is now a destination because of its current state.
It's the fourth liners just want to play. You don't have to convince him to go anywhere. If you're going to be
Well,
paying him a
hey,
million
listen,
dollars,
Komarov wasn't a fourth liner when they signed him. I shouldn't not statistically in the mind of Lamorello, he wasn't a fourth liner.
well, it's clear they was on the first fucking line.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, Trotz
So
too. So let's not take him at like I know he's dealing with what he had, but that's
he
that's still
he
not
just
a great
wasn't
choice.
he wasn't signed to be a fourth line guy. And, he knew what he had in him in Toronto, and he thought he could bring the same thing in on Long Island, and it's possible that there are a few other offers from other teams for Komarov at the time. We're talking 3, 4 years ago now. Um, was it an overpayment? Absolutely. Um, yeah, you could say the same thing about Varlamov. Maybe he was a little overpaid at $5 million, the market a few years ago. Now it looks a little bit better, but a few years ago, $5 million, a lot of people were sitting there scratching their heads and saying, "Why did they give him that much?" The Islanders had to overpay a lot of guys just to convince them to come. Now it's a little bit different.
You'd
So
like to think that.
you
I'm
would you would
I
like
mean,
to
like,
think that.
I think we are seeing that. There's that Athletic article not too long ago talking about how the Islanders are kind of on the up and up as far as that's concerned, especially with the arena's done. There's new ownership. There's Lamoriello. There's Trotz. Despite this season, I think people still hold the team in high regards within the game. Um, I'm not talking about media. I'm talking about people in hockey in the NHL.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I the fourth line, like, shouldn't be the biggest concern.
right,
They can adapt. They do have other players in the AHL. Maybe they can fill those things internally. I would hate to just spend money trying to fix that thing when
right,
like the other things they need to address are just so much more important.
right. Correspondent to Zarnick getting claimed off of waivers. Kyle Palmieri goes out on maternity for the birth of his child. Like
Paternity.
paternity, sorry. Like we had mentioned earlier, he'll be out Wednesday against the Canucks, but he will meet the team in Edmonton on Friday. So used to hearing maternity all the time at work that that's just what I heard when I was speaking. Anyway, let's talk about Adam Pelech's experience at the All Star Weekend. And I kind of thought he I saw a lot of why Adam Pelech, who's Adam Pelech, yada yada, as if he shouldn't have already gotten the recognition that he deserves.
Can we
Um,
just really quick on that? Can we talk about how why do Ranger fans seem to find Isles tweets?
I know,
Why are they in the replies?
I don't know.
Why are they in the comments section on like I'm not looking at Rangers posts. Like I see Staple and like
Yeah,
I like Molly Walker or whatever. Like I see some people around. I'm not like going out of my way to start going into Molly Walker's tweets and whenever some Ranger fan is saying something, be like, "Fuck you, you don't know what you're talking about. You let Henrik Lundqvist rot, blah, blah." Like, I'm not doing that. They seem to like they have like a column open in TweetDeck or they like saved some search and they just like go to the Isles hashtag and they just can't wait to motherfuck a bunch of Isles fans. Like, I don't how does that happen?
I don't
I don't
know.
because
The
it's so many
rivalry
people.
runs deep.
Yeah, but that's just stupid. It's just bullshit. It's like
Yeah.
it's not like your friends busting your chops. It's just like strangers on the internet with like some 1994 picture of Mark Messier and the team, the Edmonton Rangers who won the cup, and some bull like just stupid. I don't understand how that happens. Anyway,
Yeah. No, but anyway, there was that question out there. Why Adam Pelech? Like, does he really deserve to be here? Well, a lot of eyes were open this weekend as a lot of attention was turned to Adam Pelech. I loved the tweet by Greg Wyshynski. He just tweeted, I think he quote tweeted a video of Pelech doing something, and he just tweeted Pelech greater than Makar. It was a great tweet, and it got a lot of traction. And Pelech had himself a weekend. I get that he was surrounded by talent. I get that he was, it's easy to showcase your skills at something like this, but I think
that's the
that's the
point.
point, right? Right. So, first of all, the shootout, he displayed some silky mitts on a nice backhand goal, and I get it. The goaltenders were from the PWHL. Is that what it is now? Right?
The PHF.
The
Or
the,
was
the
it the PHF or the PHWPA?
I think it was the PHF. I don't remember off the top of my head. Either way, it doesn't matter. He's displayed some silky mitts. He displayed some talent this weekend, playing with some skill guys around him. How about the 102.2 mile per hour shot that almost won him the hardest shot in
Yeah,
that
that would have been
competition?
that would have been incredible.
Right? If it wasn't for Victor Hedman getting 3 or 4 more, Adam Pelech wins the hardest shot competition. Something I surely didn't expect to see happen when he was signed up for it. And how about that sweet assist on Jack Hughes's goal?
That
A nice little
backhand sauce.
backhand sauce, pepperoni on the pizza, and beats. I think it was Vasilevsky for the goal, right?
Past Vasilevsky, I don't know. It was to Jack Hughes.
Yeah, to Jack Hughes. I'm pretty sure he beats Vasilevsky, and it begs the question: does Adam Pelech have an offensive game that has been suppressed because he's relied on so much for his defense, which is largely the reason why he was voted into the All-Star game or sent to the All-Star game, right? Everyone kind of knows now that Adam Pelech is the defensive defenseman, right? He was on most Canadian Olympic rosters, the mock-ups, and a lot of attention was turned to how good of a defensive defenseman he is. Seeing all these skills that he displayed in Vegas, do you think that maybe he has a little bit of an offensive upside that he's just not utilizing because he's not put in that position to?
It's possible. I mean, we saw it in um who did they beat 5-1? I don't know why I just have no memory of these games just
It
because
feels like forever ago.
it was Ottawa,
It was Ottawa.
right? And he had a gorgeous backhand goal, an assist from
That's
Mayfield,
true.
who's
Yeah,
also shown some offensive upside.
that is true too.
And, like he's a little I don't mean to say this in like it's gonna come out worse sounding than it is. He's Pelech light. Mayfield is Pelech light.
Okay,
He's a little more clumsy than Pelech. Pelech has
that's
a
fair.
very good smoothness to his game. Um, Something that I said about Robin Salo was that I think it's really important for him to watch Pelech because he has such a good um, he escapes from danger in his own zone or whenever he has the puck. Pelech is so smooth getting away. He's
Yeah,
such a good skater. He has really good puck control. It's nothing fancy, um, but he can really get out of harm's way with the puck and maintain control. And I saw Robin Salo started to do some of those things, and I got really excited because I was like, okay, a Pelech with some upside in the offensive zone is amazing. Okay, fast forward to this weekend, and the last little while with Pelech, I think you're right. I think he might be getting it suppressed a little bit. It's not part of the Islanders system. He could stand to drive some of that offense, though. I mean, I don't know that you want him getting exhausted running the puck up and down the ice, but he does do it somewhat regularly. Like it's not all the time, but maybe once a game you see him bringing the puck into the zone. He's the first one on the forecheck. Um, he's got legs. Like he can skate. He can handle the puck. Obviously he could shoot it 102 miles an hour is no joke. Um, so it's possible. I don't know how you unleash that because it's not like, Pulak also has that, obviously. Like he was scoring at 10 goals a year outside of last season for the last 3 or 4 seasons. Um, so you wonder how they can both unleash that together. But they play such a team game. They're looking at defense first.
Yeah.
I think that's
Uh,
really hard.
I would love to see him be able to, maybe blossom that little offensive upside that he clearly possesses. But again, I'll take 4 Adam Pelechs on my team any night. He definitely deserved to be at the All-Star game, no matter which way you try and twist it. And it was nice to see him get that honor because well deserved. Did you happen to catch any of the All-Star game or the skills competition, anything like that?
You know what? I didn't. What was I
No?
No.
You gotta
No.
check out the goal in the skills competition by Trevor Zegras.
Okay, I did see videos and
Okay.
photos of that kind of floating around.
That that was some crazy stuff, man. Blindfolded, still knew where the net was after doing some spins, scores with no sight. Like he's an incredible talent. I'm happy that the NHL is starting to open up their parameters for the All Star game and invite people who maybe aren't on the roster, but or any of the rosters, but a little bit of a snub, right? Right? People are trying to say that Zegras was a snub, even though Troy Terry definitely deserved it, but so did Zegras, and it's only one per team, or some get additionals based on injuries and such. Um, but it was cool to see them open up the parameters to things like that. So,
The NHL
um,
needs to have fun. There
yeah,
are
that's mostly it.
it was I tweeted out the women's China's women's goalie had these incredible pads. I was like, it just shows that like hockey is fun. It's just the NHL that's not fun,
Yeah,
right? And Zegras and I watched Emily Kaplan did a great piece, like an 8 or 10 minute piece on Zegras for ESPN. And first of all, do having that on ESPN feels like such a weird thing because it's I'm still not used to them covering hockey as closely. Like it's just been kind of away from them for such a long time.
yeah,
But I love like he said in this piece that players, younger players are starting to have a little more personality. It's such a team oriented game, but a lot of people are trying to buck that trend a little bit. And I think that's really important. So guys like that, I mean, Ovechkin had fun a couple years ago. He put on the goofy hat and the glasses and doing all that stuff at the All-Star game. I think it's great. You
yeah.
know, um, I think it's wrong when, the Don Cherries and even recently with
John
um,
Tortorella.
John Tortorella, who is a loaf of Wonder Bread wrapped in a wet blanket. And
Ew.
I can't, he is just the least interesting hockey mind, right? Like he's simply around because he gets people riled up and we talk about him and all this kind of stuff. It's all marketing and PR. But what just a crybaby. Like he is like, Zeros is doing this stuff and he's like, well, it's gonna take away from our game. And it's like, are you kidding me?
It's
We're sitting
growing
there
the
like
game, sir.
we're sitting there. He'll say out of one side of his mouth, "Oh, the integrity of the game," and blah blah. And it's like, well, all forwards need to find a way to score. They need to get more creative out there. Goalies are really good these days. Defense first. What do you think is going to happen?
Right,
They're going to get creative. They're going to move the needle on it because they got to find another way to score. It's a
right.
high speed game. Yeah,
High skill game.
high skill game. Yeah, you get creative. I think the thing that um you know if only the NHL kind of had that aspect of like playing street hockey and how creative you were when you were out there, or just like shinny and all this other stuff where it's clear that they're having fun, but it also raises the skill level of the game. Like, that's not easy to do. He doesn't
Right.
he's Zegras has tried that kind of Michigan, a number of times in the NHL. Um, in that piece by Emily Kaplan, they mentioned it a few times. And, he gets it in eventually, but it's still fun. Like, it's a sport. It's supposed to be fun. I don't understand how Tortorella can go out there and say something like that. It's such a bad take. Current
Yeah.
take's bad. Not even like hot takes exposed. Like the Twitter, I follow this account. It's so good. Current takes bad. Yeah, that was a terrible, terrible thing. So I love Zegras in the All Star game doing that, but I love that he's doing it all over the place and he doesn't care. He's having fun.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this stupid sport.
Yep.
Is it shouldn't be aggravating. It should be an outlet. Uh, all this kind of stuff, despite all the awful, terrible things like anything related to the Chicago Blackhawks and uh, Rocky Wirtz playing victim. Meanwhile, survivors are out there not getting their due, and he thinks he can just throw money at it. That's a different aggravating thing. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be that. It's
No.
not that serious. But people, it's all about the money. And it's just
Yeah, that
aggravating.
was
Anyway,
that was a tough situation to watch, but
and then Bettman's like, "Well, poor Rocky Wirtz.
oh, stop.
He's he's gone through a lot. Are you what?
Stop.
They're
Enough.
moving on. Like, oh my, yeah, it's so bad.
We're not going to go
So
down
so
this
so
this
bad.
rabbit hole, but definitely not something you want to see from the NHL regarding Rocky Wirtz. Hopefully,
Joke.
something comes out of that.
I
I,
will
I I
say
I did see he issued the apology, but I don't know if that's enough.
he's all right. I'll just say this. I don't care what you think of Dangle, Steve Dangle and the podcast, and it's Toronto and whatever. Go listen to. I think it was Friday's show. Do yourself a favor and go listen to that show. And his anger. I wish I could channel that because like I really do feel that aggravated about all of this and the Hockey Diversity Alliance stuff and all this stuff that just kind of keeps coming up at the NHL is you're like up on a tee
Yeah.
and they're like swinging the other direction or just fall down. Like I don't even know. I don't know what's going on. But Steve, I give him all the credit in the world for the passion that he showed on that. I think he was 100% on base with everything that he said,
Yeah.
and I literally could not have said it better myself. So I give him a lot of credit, but it's worth the listen if you don't know a lot about the situation. They really outline it pretty well, and this is before Bettman's bullshit
Yeah.
that he put out later that day. But yeah, that's it.
Ending
Anyway,
the
Zegers,
show
have fun.
and ending the show on a bit of a more positive note. Quick Islander prospect update. Aturatu had a pretty good day today. A couple points, scored a goal. He's on a 3-game point streak with 5 points in those 3 games. Good to see from him. He's currently just tearing it up in the Liga, so that's a good development for Ratu. And over in the QMJHL, William DeFore has gained the QMJHL lead in points. Currently has 4 points in his game that he's playing right now. And I believe it's 2 goals, 2 assists. He could have more before the night is over. William DeFore keeps, padding his draft stock and increasing it. Not shouldn't say draft stock, his prospect stock for the Islanders. I think he's been named by Corey Pronman the fifth best prospect in the Islander system. And if he keeps playing like this, he could even climb a little bit higher. So, uh, ending the show on a bit of a bright note. Any final words from you, John?
So I was your colleague over there or your boss or whatever he is to you, Pagnota, friend of the show,
Yeah,
David Pagnota. Do you see his tweet about your dreamboat forward, Philip Forsberg?
I did. I did. As mentioned earlier on NHL Network, there haven't been any contract extension talks between the Predators and Philip Forsberg since the fall. Currently, no plans, but the two sides are expected to connect before the trade deadline. If nothing happens, it will likely be pushed to the summer, where he will be an unrestricted free agent. He will have that 1 week grace period before free agency begins to talk to the Nashville Predators and get a deal hammered out. So, something to keep an eye on. Interesting to see if it will or will not happen. He's largely the engine that's running the Predators right now. The Predators are playing very well behind UC Soros and Philip Forsberg. I think Forsberg has something like 25, 30, almost 30 goals already. So will be interesting to see how it works out for Mr. Forsberg over in Nashville. Uh, and that's it. Want to say thank you to DraftKings. Use that THPM promo code with DraftKings and use the NHP20 promo code with Manscaped. Want to say thank you to the Hockey Podcast Network, Isles Fix, and of course, all of you, our listeners. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Nassaumen Hockey. You can join our Discord for a safe space to chat with fellow Islander fans. And lastly, you can find my work at the Fourth Period and John's work over at the Hockey Writers. Make sure to check out Isles Fix, an excellent curated Islanders newsletter. Monday through Friday, you will receive that in your inbox. It's where you can get all your Islander information from the day prior, so on and so forth. Until next time, everyone. Let's go Islanders.